Today I'm chatting with Libby Babet, mum, author, speaker, presenter, and owner of 4 businesses, including recently rebranded gym, The Upbeat. As we come to my last episode of Style at Home, I couldn't think of anyone more fitting to conclude the series than Libby. Not only has she been able to embody the spirit of keep calm and carry on through COVID, she's done this with an upbeat enthusiasm and a smile on her face, while she sways from simple comfort to purpose-driven performance where it's always her style to be active and bring her whole self to all that she does. She wears her heart on her sleeve, and it's her boundless energy, her ability to build a community, and a desire to make everyone around her just a little bit happier that kept me and so many others moving through COVID. She's put smiles on so many faces and has been a central force in defining my style at home. I was doing my research and, just in preparing for the interview. And one of the things that I heard you talk about in another podcast was Taryn Brumford, who's an author, and she started the body image movement. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So one of the things that you said that inspired you was a question she got asked around, like, what do you say to your daughter when she comes up to you and says, "Oh, mummy, do you think I look pretty in this dress?" And she turned around and said, I'm more interested in what you're going to do in that dress, darling. And I was like,
yes.
Oh, that's a perfect way to start my interview with Libby.
I know, right? And it's so true as well, because I think it's a good message for all of us, really, because when you think about how we view ourselves and how we view other people is so different and unique. Like, it's interesting. I think when I look at someone else, I'm never looking for pimples or, rolls or bad fashion. Like, I'm not looking for that stuff ever. I'm looking for how they engage with me and what they've got to say and their energy and, whether they're really present with me. And then I'm like, what are we doing? Are we going for coffee, going for a walk, and it's really interesting. Whereas when we look at ourselves, and it's funny because we see other people too, animated, and blah. But when we look at ourselves, it's like we look in the mirror and we're still, and we're, it's one tiny little part of what everyone experiences when they interact with us. And I think we so often forget that. So it's funny because I often get asked this question, talking I love what Taryn says, because she's like, yes, darling, what are you going to do in it? And it's so nice to hear that. And I loved it because I thought, oh, that's awesome. Like, I need that tip for when my daughter asks me these questions, because it's such a loaded question, isn't it? It's like,
it really is.
It's a loaded question. But when I get asked often, what does a positive body image mean to you, or body positivity? What does body positivity mean? And I honestly think that body positivity and body image, it's about how you feel and what you do, because not about actually how you're looking. Because I've worked with women with poor body image who are size 6 to size 26, and I've worked with women with excellent body image from size 6 to 26, and the difference is actually not what they look like at all, their looks, their weight, nothing. The difference is how they feel about themselves and what they do for themselves. So I always say, a positive body image is actually about what positive actions you take for your body. It's not necessarily about just sitting there and thinking, I look great or not, because honestly, everyone I've ever worked with that has felt negatively about themselves, it's because they're doing things that they feel negative about. They're sitting on the couch, they're eating foods that aren't making them feel good, they're not moving their body, or they're moving it in a way that's leaving them, injured or not feeling happy, or it's too intense, or it's not hard enough. They're not doing things that actually are making them feel positive about what their body can do, and also about, and making them feel good about themselves. So I actually think body positivity and, body image is more of an action than it is a situation, if that makes sense. And, 9 times out of 10, particularly when I'm working with young women, if they've not been introduced to exercise in a fun and positive way, if they've never been taught, you know, how amazing and energetic real good food can make you feel, and how to actually read a label, and they're not empowered in those ways, they'll feel out of control and negative. And yet if they understand food enough to generally eat pretty healthily, they've got good base energy, and they're, you know, attending some kind of exercise or getting out in nature in a way that makes them, you know, feel good, they're going to feel positive about their body 8 times out of every 10. And, you know, there's always times when we feel shit about ourselves, but you know, that's just everyone, that's just hormonal and it's situational, but usually it's to do with how we feel, not actually how we look. And I think that's an important differentiation.
So you got that from your parents at a very early age though, didn't you? Like they put you into sport and fitness because you kind of been quite open about the fact that as a younger girl, you were like a little bit bullied, and you kind of didn't feel like you fit in. And
yes, totally.
Gotta say, Liv,
I was shy.
you now, I can't, like, it's hard to believe you weren't the most popular girl in class.
Oh my gosh, definitely not.
but why did you, as a little girl, not feel like you fit in?
You know, I mean, again, you'll laugh at me and say it's hard to imagine now, but I am at my heart probably quite an introvert. You know, I'm an introvert that loves people. I'm really interested by people. And that combination is I think came together in me being very shy, because when I was younger, I am very introverted. You know, my perfect day is reading a book in the sunshine with a cup of tea, you know, and I rarely go out on social events, but I also love people, and I love giving people really great experiences. And I'm an energy feeder. Like I love feeding people energy. I love receiving it. And so that's why I love what I do so much. But when I was younger, I was both, you know, a bit introverted, and then also I loved people, and I really wanted them to have a good experience with me. And I didn't like it when, you know, people were mean to other people, and I felt really shy about it when, you know, everything wasn't rosy. And I had that as a young kid, that kind of shy combination with, you know, wanting to love people and them to love me back and all nicey. You know, I was that girl that loved being a big sister. Yeah, I have been. And it's, I am. I'm a people pleaser, and it's something that you have to learn to mold within yourself, I think, as you get older. But as a kid, it made me very shy, and also made me a really easy target, I think. You know, I was that person that would stand at the top of the slide and wait for 20 people to go down, and mum would be like, "Can you just go?" Did that shyness come out in, like, the way you expressed yourself, like physically? Were there things that you would or wouldn't wear as a little girl because there was a shyness there? Or you know, it's funny because I always have this like laugh when I look back at my like 10 or 11-year-old photos, because I think that sort of age where and even a bit younger than that, kind of 8, 9, 10, it's the age just before you hit preteen and you start to worry about what everyone thinks, you know. And I think I feel like at that self, you've been alive long enough to know what you love, but not long enough to really worry about what others are desperately thinking. And so in that sweet spot, I always used to wear like little bike shorts, one of Dad's old baggy shirt, pair of runners. I'm like, that's how I knew what I was going to be. But
I love that.
But I do remember my mum saying to me, like, to this day, I have this dreaded hate of wearing jeans. You'll never see me in them. If I ever post a photo in jeans, everyone's like, what? Are they actually leggings? And it's interesting. Mum always says to me that when I was really young, there was this stranger that I was wearing a pair of jeans, and they called me a boy or something. And from then on, I wouldn't wear them. And I wonder if that's still in my psyche somewhere. Yeah. But, you know, it's funny. I don't really remember that so much, but I don't think I was picked on necessarily from a physical point of view. It was more just that I was a shy, and I was that easy target. So, you know, the kids, and it wasn't so much, it was a lot of the kids at the school next door. Actually, on our way home, I got quite, you know, physically chased and bullied, and at school I just got, you know, it was that kind of emotional bullying. And so, but you know, it's funny because it was towards the end of primary school, and what you're talking about there is I came home and I was just so upset about it, and my parents are very practical, and mum was like, oh God, I'm sick of hearing about it, what are you going to do about it? And you know, find an interest, find a group that you belong to. And Dad, who was very sporty, was like, you know, let's make you the sporty kid, come on. And we just trained that entire holiday season. There's like another 8 weeks of the summer holidays, and we trained and we got fit and we learnt different skills, and it was just to me, it felt fun because I didn't think of it as like, it wasn't like he was coaching me, and mum got involved too, in a sense of, you know, forcing me to be something. It was just time with dad and mum who I loved, and it was time that I really wanted. And it was so much fun that I was so excited to get up every day and do it. And you know, we'd run different ways, and we'd go swimming in the creek at the end, and we'd practice shot put, throwing stones. It was just a really joyous time. And you know, I came back and I just entered everything in the sports carnival and just went into it with a really fun attitude. Like I was excited to do it, but not feeling nervous about it. And I won the sports carnival, and I took home a trophy. And for me, that was my first time when I really felt like I'd worked for something and I'd accomplished it. But the working for it was actually really good fun, and it didn't feel like an effort, you know.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable. And not only that, but I had someone around me that was making it enjoyable and that I really loved. And that was a gift I really wanted to when I came into this industry, I really wanted to pass on, because again, I had an illness in my 20s where I had to restart my whole health journey. And when I did that, I was looking for something that wasn't as intense. But back in the day then, it's different now, but it was like hardcore bodybuilding, or it was hardcore 10-kilometer marathon to marathon running, and it was, you know, or it was hardcore athletics training. And I just at that point in my life, I just wanted, you know, something that was joyous again.
Yeah.
So
and I've got to
sort of
thank
what I brought to
you,
the table.
because from a personal perspective, I was shit at team sports my whole childhood. So I've avoided them my whole life, to the extent that I have only had a personal trainer because I have not even wanted to go to a gym.
Really?
But you, Libby, have turned me around, because the one thing I did do as a kid was dance. And
I love that.
So that's why you know, like I'm such a fangirl, and but it's because I'm very grateful for what,
so
like,
good.
honestly, for what the changes in myself and my physical kind of being. But to be able to be confident to come to the gym and do it like an aerobic class, and just come out of it feeling high and feeling like I just had so much fun. Like my husband will tell you, he's like, I've been telling you for years at the gym, like going to a class with other people, because I'm such a social human being. He's like, I've been telling you for years it can be fun. And I'm like, I just found the right spot, you know.
I love that. So, and that's an important thing that you said right then, because it is about finding the right spot, you know. Like, we won't be the right spot for everybody, and thank goodness there's so many people doing really different, interesting things these days. But you're exactly right. You've got to find your tribe, you know.
Yeah.
And I laugh about this, because back in the day we had, you know, there was church, and there were these community groups. There were all these little things that were really important, and those have, for a lot of people, broken down these days. And gyms, I think, are a real place of connection now, if they have got a real community feel, because, you know, it's a place that feels like that third space.
Yeah.
So,
but you've done a lot.
Right?
Don't take it away from yourself. You've done a lot to bring that together. You know every single person, even as these Zoom classes have expanded. Odette and I are like, oh my God, Libby knows everybody that's in the class. So that's a lot to do with who you are. But I know that community is important to you, and I know that you and I have spoken about that before, and that community is kind of built into every business, and there's many of them that you have. Yes. But your entrepreneurial spirit and had started at a very young age, didn't it?
Yes. Well,
so
it's
you
interesting.
had your first business at 14 or 13?
Yeah, 13. So I was very frustrated, because in Queensland, and I don't know what the rules are here, but you're not allowed to be employed by someone until you're, I think, 14 and 8 months. And so basically I just got to 13. I was like, I really want some money. And mum and dad weren't the most well off, and they were like, we can't give you some money. And so I sat down, I was like, what could I do? What could I do? And we had a little brainstorm, and, you know, at the time mum was like, oh, you know, you've got some old costumes in there, we could fancy them up, maybe you could do some kids theme parties. I was like, yeah, that's a really good idea. I do that for all my cousins and my sisters anyway. And so I literally just put all these, you know, you're not officially allowed, so I just put all these, you know, notifications up at all the kindies and preschools saying, you know, I'm doing kids theme parties, it's $50 for 2 hours, which was big money in those days for me. And that's what I do. And I'd show up dressed as a fairy or a clown or a Spice Girl at that point. And we'd do 2 hours of kids games, and it was really fun. And I started that, and it was just, under the radar, don't tell the tax department, but it was great fun. And I ended up actually having to give it away when I was about kind of going into grade 12, which is like 17 in Queensland, because I was just booked out all weekend. I'd be going from fairy party to fairy party, and it was good fun. And it was actually a good first lesson, without all the risks and worries of a proper business, of like, oh, this is how you kind of go through doing the business. Like, you put the word out there, and then you do something that you can do yourself with low cost, and you kind of build on it then. Once I earned a bit of money, I could buy certain games to bring with me, and it's build upon build. And I think that is an important lesson, and something that I've learned through, as you say, starting many businesses. And I think this is why business is addictive if you are able to do it, because it's so hard to sit outside a business and look at the finished product and think, I want to try that. It's so scary. But actually, if you look at the lowest risk and lowest cost model, and you give it a go, you realize that you start down here and you build layer upon layer upon layer. And that's sort of, what I've gotten used to doing, I guess. And it gets easier. The Upbeat was my 4th or 5th. And it was funny, when we were fitting out the space, we were like, oh, how much easier is this now, having done it? And having dealt with council a number of times. It's just a learning process like anything else. The difference is that for a career, you go to university and you build yourself up that way, and then you do work experience and you walk in. With a business, you start with just you and what you're available to offer, or what you're able to offer, and then you slowly build upon that. And so it's just a different way of doing things, really, and a different learning curve and a different upskill.
And so it is and I like, in terms of like the thread through your business, you so obviously community is one of them, but the other thread that you've kind of openly talked about is storytelling, and how you integrate that into all your businesses. And like, obviously entertaining young kids, you were a born storyteller. You're a journalist before you entered into the fitness world. This podcast is about how people express themselves, and what what their clothes mean to them. What would you say is the story that what you wear tells about you
right now, or in general?
Well, I've only ever seen you in your activewear, but
I know. Well, that's a fair enough question. Look, and this is my shirt from the Upbeat. I've just finished teaching, which is why I'm looking a bit messy. But it is, it's our icon. And in the Upbeat, like, my method with fitness, as you know, is not necessarily about, getting your macros and your micros right, or, whatever it might be. There is science behind it, because I'm totally nerdy. But this is our smile icon. And basically what it means to me is we're here to make you feel just 10% happier every day, just that little bit happier. And I think it's those little happiness habits that add up to an overall more fulfilled or more content life. It's when you don't have a tool you can use to shift your energy state, that things become hard. And so this to me is what that means. But in general, look, I would say it's a good question, because I wear surfwear or activewear. Like, I'm a bit of a surfy beachy girl. So if it comes from a surf shop, great. If it comes from an activewear shop, great. If it's outside of that, I really struggle. So if I have to dress up to go to a nice event, give me just a one-piece dress, because anything that I have to put together, it's like, it doesn't mean enough to me to think about it, and but it also stresses me out to try and put something fancy together, if that makes sense. It's interesting, because no one in my family really wears jewelry. I've got my wedding rings, and that's about it. We're very simple people, and we all of us feel a little bit awkward when we have to get dressed up, but I do still like to look nice within what I like to wear. So, I love to mix and match different activewear. I think it's really important to have self-expression in whatever you do. And luckily, that's become part of me and my lifestyle in and outside of work. So, it gets a little bit surfier, a little bit streetier when I'm out, and but there's still some kind of activewear in there. I will say though, I do love as well kind of loose clothing when I'm outside of a work situation too, because we're in these kind of tight outfits all the time. So that's where the surfwear comes in, that kind of loungy and relaxed. And so there's a difference between kind of I'm on and I'm all action, or I'm, you know, on downtime. So I don't know what it says about me. I guess I am a fairly simple person too. Like, it doesn't actually take, it's interesting because in work, I like lots of mental stimulation and I like lots of physical stimulation from a work point of view. But outside of work, I am quite relaxed and simple. So that kind of surfy clothing kind of does dictate me. And that's an interesting concept actually. When I'm in work mode, it's that kind of active wear. I'm ready for action. It is performance wear and I'm going. And outside, it's kind of relaxed. And the things that I like to do are read a book, go to the park, have brunch with my family. I am that person that if you said to me, like someone said to me the other day, what if we can't travel for years? Like, that doesn't really bother me. I like to travel, but it's the simple life that actually I really enjoy. If someone said you can never read a book again, I'd be flipping out. Like, but no travel, no, I can deal with that. So that's the kind of person I am. I am that relaxed and simple person. As long as there's an ocean nearby and I've got a book in my hand and my family around me, I'm cool. And I don't really need a lot of extra stuff. But when it comes to work, every job I've done that's not my own business that I can build and expand upon becomes boring very quickly. And I don't know what that's about, but I like to not have the red tape, and I like to be able to move and change and expand. And I think probably one of my skills is reading an audience and a market. Like, I know when it's time to move on from a concept, even if I've loved it. Yeah. So, you know, the Upbeat for many people came out of the blue, but in my mind, I was percolating for a while going, there's a beat-based concept that needs to come to Australia that's simpler than whatever's here so far, that's doing really well in the States, but in a dancey way, and needs to be commercialized. And it was brewing for me. And I'd run a really athletic style gym before this that was all trained like an athlete, etc. And it was great. Super profitable. I loved it. But all these other similar ones started popping up, and that made me bored.
Yeah.
And I knew there was an opportunity waiting.
I was going to ask you, like, what, because obviously rebranding to the Upbeat came at a time when, like, just before COVID hit, really.
Yes.
So it was, I'm sure it was a very interesting time for your business, because you obviously knew you were going into that, but so the creative direction around the Upbeat is obviously the smile and the happiness, which is I think a really perfect symbol of you.
Thank you.
What are the other kind of drivers for changing
the rebrand? So look, it's interesting. Like I said, I could see that there were some really great beat driven businesses in the States, but were quite dancey, and I just knew that it would be difficult to really make that kind of thing work here, but I knew there was a space for it because it's a really joyous thing. And there's a lot of science behind how many better results you can actually get when you are moving with the beat, you know? And I knew there was a space for it. I just, you know, I had this inkling that, like, right now, Australian fitness has taken itself a little bit too seriously. and I want to bring a little bit of fun to it. And I had this urge to do this to the beat stuff, but to make it a bit more commercial, which interestingly, we were one of the first people in Australia to do a really athletic circuit-based group exercise concept with my first fitness business, Agosia. And at the time I was like, why is this not being brought into a group concept, this way that we train where athletes out in the field? And so we were one of the first to do that. And now there's so many more, you know, there's the F45s and your Fit Bodies and whatever else. And so I had that same feeling with this kind of working out to music, to the beat fitness. I was like, there's a space here to merge dance, but also strength and regular gym work with music, and make it a little bit more commercial, so that people don't have to feel like either a pro dancer or, you know, or a serious athlete to do it, but they get really good results because we've got strength and we've got mat-based training, we've got cardio, and we do that in an athletic but dancey way. So I just had this it was just bubbling up in me for ages. And interestingly, when I wanted to do it was when I found out that I was pregnant with Izzy, and it was a 13-year journey to get pregnant with her. So I knew that had to be my focus. So at that time, I was about to open this business, and I had the outdoor boot camp Buff Girls, and I was about to open, and I knew that we wanted this kind of concept, but I wasn't willing to do it without myself in it. And that's maybe sounds a little bit up myself or so, but I just knew as an owner, you have to be in something to really launch something, you know? And so I said, you know what, we've got this space. It's good timing. Let's bring Buff Girls, which was that bootcamp business. We'll do an indoor outdoor concept, but let's start to test a few little to the beat concepts. And I had an amazing girl with me, Sian, who was able to help me do that and be there physically, and was amazing to help me kind of start to test the waters on that. And then Alex came in, who you know now, obviously, and Emma, and we sort of, so they were able to kind of play with that a little bit, you know, with me popping in and meeting with them and helping to kind of explore that while I was in that first year of kind of having and looking after Izzy. And so then I came back in, and slowly I was like, okay, now we're going to start to change over the classes and see how far we can push the boundaries and still have our clients enjoy it. And when we're clear that the concept will work, we're going to change it. And so we brainstormed the name, and you know, the Upbeat came up, and we were all pumped for it, but it wasn't the right time. So I actually had planned to really launch the Upbeat in around June. But what happened in March was COVID hit, and we knew that we wanted to go online when we launched this. So what was going to happen was we were going to plan this beautiful online product, and we were going to launch as a studio and fully to the beat finally, an online product. Now COVID was coming, and I was like, I started to get the nerve. I was like, it's going to come, and I'm going to have to go online, and we're not ready for it, but that's okay. We're going to do it. But I do not want to go online as Buff Girls. Like, my whole being was like, no, that is not happening. So I was like, let's go. We are getting the Upbeat happening. It seemed like such a rush because we brought it out. I got the sign guys on the last day they were working. We launched on the Sunday, and on Monday we got told we had to shut down. And I was like, okay, I knew that was coming, but like, phew, we did it on time. Let's launch the Upbeat. I don't know what we're going to do for tech, but we'll figure it out on the way down. And it's been exciting. Like, this 3 months that we've been closed, really, by the time we open, it'll be 3 months. And I think it's been financially distressing, don't get me wrong, but it has been creatively exciting and magical, and I have loved the opportunity to get in and figure out how to do a live stream. We've built our on-demand library now, and hot news off the press, we're about to actually launch that on demand. It's going to go off there, and it's actually going to be a fully launched phone app on the App Store. So it's given us the time to kind of launch imperfectly, figure it out, and now be going where we wanted to be, starting to experiment with by December, which is so exciting. And there are still things we're obviously working on. Like, when we relaunch, we'll be launching with new classes again, and that evolution is happening. But and just finding even the right instructors to bring this experience to light has been a journey too. But we've got an amazing team now, and a good concept, and I'm so excited to actually get it out there now as the Upbeat, and we've had the chance to do it, which is cool.
Yeah, and well done in being able to turn that round so quickly, because it has been like such a positive thing, and I'm talking from a very personal perspective, but it's been such a positive thing to have in a time that could have been quite upsetting or quite moody, you know, if you weren't exercising, you weren't moving your body.
100%.
And, you know, one of the things I love about it is so you, Libby, like, you know, you're always happy. You've got so much energy. I love that the Spice Girls is a regular feature in the soundtrack.
Of course. Back to my roots.
But also, I want to ask, in terms of you, I know you are a bit of a nerd, and you love your fantasy
I'm
novels.
a nerd on the inside. Yeah, I am.
You read like fantasy every night. Does that sense of like anything can happen feed into, you know, like that belief that you could kind of do anything, feed into how, you know, your motivation to bring the launch 6 months ahead?
Look, totally. I think there's a real, you know, I get really sad when I speak to people that say they don't like reading stories, because I actually think it's one of the best antidepressants on the planet, along with exercise. So I'm actually really lucky. Like you say there, I'm often really happy. It's not that I am, but I actually do have a really good toolkit of things to flip the switch quickly. So I never sit in a bad mood. It's like, if I'm out, I know, I'm like, I'm just going to go read a book for 5 minutes. Like, I'm back, I'm happy. Like, it's just to take your brain out of the present and shift your state with something like energy, or reading a book, or going for a walk, all that kind of stuff. It really helps, and also really helps to kind of eat well. But you are totally right. Like, the fantasy books follow this circle, like this, the hero's journey, don't they? Where there's someone that starts out and they're a little bit, you know, unsettled with their life and they want to do something, and they go out into the world and they have all these failures and it's really hard. They discover a power that they didn't know about, and they start to use it, and they find they're not good at it, they can't really use it in the way they want to. They meet a mentor, the mentor guides them, and they go out on their own and they become this amazing thing. But there's still trials along the way, and then the loop continues. And it's one of these things where you're constantly, you know, yes, anything can happen, both the good and the bad, and that's okay, if that makes sense. Because these heroes, they always learn on the way and they learn on the journey. And I think and whatever book you're reading, whether it is fantasy where it is a little like that, and you realize that the nerdiest, most, you know, most simple people in the world can actually have these amazing adventures and have these inner powers in them. You know, I love that story, and I think it's really true for everyone. Like, some of the best people I've ever met have been so unsure of themselves in life, but they've got so much to give. And I think once you understand that, you don't have to be perfect to be perfectly awesome. You don't have to, you know, have the perfect life to have a perfectly good time. You know, that life is this adventure that's up and down and all around. And I really, truly believe that. And I think that's something that reading gives you. And it also gives you insights. Like, outside of fantasy novels, I'll read stories about real humans and I'll learn about their struggles, and it gives you an empathy and an understanding and also an appreciation for your own life. Like, you read a book about someone who has 3 kids and has passed away from cancer, and you think, who am I to be grumpy about my kids, you know, messy room? Like, screw it. I'm here and I'm healthy and I'm with them, and isn't that a blessing? And I think it's such a beautiful thing that storytelling does, whether you're watching it, whether you're reading it, etc. I just happen to think that watching screens all the time makes you sometimes a little depressed rather than happy. If it's one movie or one Netflix, great, but you know, you get in the funk. But when it's something like it's reading, it's your own imagination that's fired up, you're totally transported, you're in someone else's world. And whether that is a fantastical world where anything is possible, and there's this hero going on this crazy journey that gives you a moment to go, you know what, I can do this. Or whether it is, you know, someone's real story and you think that's impressive or that's exciting or that's sad, and it makes you reflect on your own life. I think those are, you know, all really important things to be taking in. It stops you being so self-focused. And I think that is one thing that, you know, I can be narrow focused in terms of I'm going here and I'm, you know, not seeing the social events going on around me, but I'm certainly don't think I'm a self-focused person, because I am aware of what other people need and their own journeys, and me, you know, helping them, but not being responsible for them. So it's, you know, it's one of those things where, I think, you know, they say, what was it? I heard this quote the other day that said, being, what was it? It was talking about becoming modest or less selfish is not actually about talking about yourself less. It's about thinking about yourself less.
Yeah.
Important one, you know, like, how much can you give and how much can you get out there? And I think it's a good journey, and it's putting to include other people in it.
And I think that at this time that we've all kind of gone through, it's been a time of kind of reprioritizing and treasuring what we do have. And one of the questions I'm asking everybody is, what are you treasuring at the moment that you feel like is a symbol of yourself and your style?
As in a thing?
Yeah, something that represents you. Like, I mean, ideally, like a piece of clothing that kind of, you know, that you treasure, that represents you, and that you kind of feel.
Oh, let me think. What's a piece of clothing that really treasure represents? Actually, there is something, and I was thinking about this the other day, because it's just obviously got quite cold here. And I have this, it's actually from First Base, you know, that kind of streety athleisure wear First Base.
Yeah.
And it's just it's like a pull-on, open, big, like oversized cardigan with a loose or not a structured one. Like a little bit like a fantasy cloak.
There you go.
Now, this item was
your superhero.
I know, right? It was my first item of like kind of cool activewear splurge that I bought about, honestly, close to a decade ago, you know, when I was fresh in this industry. And I was thinking the other day that I've had this piece of clothing through all of my business, from the very first business. It was the first thing I got treated myself with that was like, this is a treat for starting your business. Well done. And, you know, I've worn it every winter since. I wore it when I was pregnant with Izzy. I even had it just after I had her in the delivery suite. And I put it on this morning for the first time again because it's got quite cold. And I was like, hello, old piece of clothing. But it still looks great. It's kind of like this, it is a bit of a fantasy, like cowl in a way. And it's just like, I've had it through everything. You know, when Izzy was first born, I used to wrap her in it. Every single winter I pull it out, and it's easy to like have on in the gym and then just chuck off before I start teaching. And that's probably something that I would say I had this moment just the other day where I was like, I really treasure this. Like, I really love this. And look, the other thing I'm obsessed with is spring court shoes. I don't know if you've ever worn those. They're like these canvas shoes. I literally have them in about a dozen colors and building. Yeah. Because I feel like I wear them like for streetwear athletics. They go with surfwear, and I've even been known to wear them with a ball gown.
Have you?
Yes. Nice silky white ball gown, white spring courts, done.
Yeah, that to me is very Libby Babet.
Very Libby Babet. Every speaking engagement, nice pants, nice shirt, different color spring courts. I've got shiny ones too.
Anything that you're dying to wear that you've needed an occasion for?
Oh,
now that we're coming out of COVID.
I've been dying to wear that I need an occasion for. Oh. You know, like the thing that's coming to mind is something really kind of boring, but kind of me. So I'm a real summer girl. Like, I'm a Queenslander, right? I grew up in Queensland. Yeah. I'm not a winter person. Every winter I like grab a coat or something and put it over, but I'm kind of in denial about wearing it. And I feel like there was really beautiful weather as COVID came in, and we got banned from the beaches.
We couldn't use any of it.
We couldn't use any of it. And I'm actually really dying to just put on some swimwear and go in the water. And I even have this little matching like bikini, me and Izzy, that I'm just dying to put on. I didn't get to wear because I bought it right as that was happening. I was like, damn it, she'll probably be grown out of it. But you know, that's me. I just can't wait to get down there and actually have the first swim of spring again. So we'll see.
Well, you're such a natural beauty. One of the questions I did want to ask you was, you feel like you've been put on this earth to help other people.
Yeah.
Your mum's
make them
a
little bit happier.
Yes. Your mum's a nurse. Your sister's a youth worker.
Yes.
Like, all that goodness, all that natural beauty, is that just something that's just wrapped into your family, or, you know?
Yeah, look, I think I do have a really beautiful family. You know, we are all we're simple in terms of simple pleasures and what we like and what we need, and you know, but we are really important to each other. And look, I'm a big sister who has just, you know, my mum and my dad were always there. We were number one for them. They were always, you know, they've never like, oh, you take time with her. They fought for time with us, and I love that. And yeah, my sisters are just beautiful souls, and I truly do think, it kind of is wrapped into us to give back where we can and to prioritize people who might need us and that would love people that we can love.
Yeah.
So nice.
Thank you for doing that for me. And for all the people that are part of the Upbeat.
You're welcome. Thanks for being part of the community. I love having it.
Oh my God. Yes. Well, I'm a full gym convert now because of you.
Yay! Happiness. That's so good. Please stay. Yes. You and your beautiful niece too, who I love.
Yeah. All right, I'll let you go because I know a class is about to start.
Yes, you guys can hear it in the background. Sorry about that, but it's so nice to chat to you today. And I'm sorry that I don't have more fancy style things to talk about, but proficient in the style of having a fun life. And your style is truly you, which is what this is about. So thanks, gorgeous.
All right.
Well, I'll see you online soon.
Thank you. While Libby prefers life's simple pleasures and has her feet firmly on the ground, it's hard not to elevate her to the status of superhero. Like her beloved fantasy book characters, she's faced adversity. She's found her power, and she's made it her life's work to use her strength for the betterment of others. It's no surprise then that performance wear and hooded cloaks have come to determine how she gets dressed. But it's the smile she wears on her face that defines her, and it's Libby's style to make sure she's going to do something great with it. Thank you for listening to this bonus series over the last few months. It's been a pleasure to present Style Home, and I'm looking forward to sharing season 2 of Style Stories with you soon.